Right, guys, thank you for joining me quickly on this impromptu video. There was something that happened about an hour and a half ago. This is my fourth attempt now at trying to record this, so that's why it's a little bit later getting to you. But we've just had we had an hour and a half ago, some news coming out of Russia that they were taking troops out of Snake Island, potentially lifting blockades on grain out of Ukraine. This was something that I spotted on Financial Juice, but it was actually after I spotted some moves in the market. So what I've got here, just to show you what I'm looking at for demonstration purposes, this is basically a chart book on my Sierra chart where I've got all my these are all my bonds, these are all my equities, these are all my currencies, and these are all my commodities. So I can look at correlations really, really easily, and I can see and also I can bring up a crosshair and they move. So this is a 10-second chart, by the way. So what happened? I'd spotted this move in oil, which happened at 3:38 Central Time, which is Chicago time. This move in oil went from trading at the top of the range to the bottom of the range in about 40 seconds. You're talking about like over $1.50. At the same time, I'd spotted that bonds had moved and I'd spotted that equities had moved. I hadn't heard anything off the squawk. I hadn't heard any news. I didn't know what was going on, but I knew something was going on, and I was there to find out what. So, I turn around, I'm looking at whatever, what I need to look at, look at my news sources, and then all of a sudden I see this flash coming up from the squawk and Financial Juice, and this is what I saw, and I highlighted this as quickly as I probably could after I got into a trade. Let me quickly show you what the tweet is, guys, so please bear with me. I'm just finding, I did have it somewhere, but I'm a little bit disorganized, which is typical of me, but here we go. So this was the important tweet, guys. So I took out a picture and I tried to highlight how important this was potentially because of the moves that happened. So what we've seen here, we've seen Russian forces have left Snake Island. These are all coming from official Russian sources as well. Russian Defense Ministry, by withdrawing troops from Snake Island, demonstrates that it does not hinder efforts to organize corridor. What it's showing us is that there's a potential easy intentions, a willingness to cooperate, whatever it is. The market took it as positive news. I don't care what news is. I know that there was news. I know it's coming out of Russia, and I know the market reaction. So is it an overreaction? I don't know, but I just can only go off with what I see. But potentially, this is potentially good news. And what we'd had overnight, and what was really interesting, was the fact that we had this big move lower in equities. Now, let me quickly show you. I don't know if it's my Sierra chart or my chart being slow, but something is slow, and I think it's my Windows. Okay. So we had this big area of balance yesterday, and then overnight, I suspected that this normal distribution that we had yesterday would potentially break either to the upside or the downside. I didn't know whether it was. We closed right in the middle of a very balanced area. It was quite possible that we had these poor lows here where we might get some stops. You can see there they went off. I was sleeping, so were you probably. But these stops went off and we started to move lower. And where do we get down to? Well, we got down to an area that we had highlighted as an area of interest in our weekly research. And this is why I'm bringing this up, guys, is because it's really, really important to understand that, every day when I'm trading, I'm not just trading the last 5 minutes. I'm trading a bigger picture in my head, and I understand these levels intimately. I know every nook and cranny of that chart. If I was to close my eyes, I call out half those numbers, and it's really important for to slowly build up these images, these pictures in your minds about where these important areas are. And this is a really important area, and this is where we stopped, where this number 2 is. So please have a look at the weekly research. I mentioned how important this area was. We were stuck at the beginning of the week. We're stuck in the middle. It's month end. We've got lots of things going on, and I highlighted the fact that we could go either way, and it looks like we've gone back down to the downside. Sorry if that's the squawking you listen to it. I'm really, really sorry. Okay, but let's just have a look what happens. So basically, overnight we come down, and we were hanging around this area 37, 68, 70s, and then all of a sudden we spiked higher. So I'm thinking, that's interesting. Why is that happening? So this is the move. This is the initial move, and we spiked up to 86. At which point I realized that there was some news. So let's bring up a more detailed chart to have a look at, guys. So remember what we'd had this huge drop in oil. This is my oil chart from 109 here all the way down to 108.60, I think. Let me just bring the oil chart so you can see. This is a more detailed chart, footprint chart. Don't be put off by this, guys. It's just a footprint chart. It's just like a market profile, nothing more, nothing less. And these big bubbles here, they just show when the really big orders start clipping in. So this was the move down on the comment. The move happened seconds before the actual comment. So someone got wind of it, and then it was squawked, and then it was hit. By which time it started to creep back up. Now this is kind of good. This gives you your in. This gives you your entry. But what you want to be aware of, where the scene of the crime is. Where did this move initiate from? When did this news hit? And that should be where your stop is, really. So what really happened was here you start to see this start to go, but you don't want to see price. You want to see price pulling back because that gives you your in. But what you don't want to see, anybody sort of taking prices above the scene of the crime, because then all these guys here will get, start stopping out. So I was very aware of what was going on in oil, and I was very aware of what was happening in bonds, and I was very aware of what was happening in the equities. But I was, and now I was very aware about what had just been squawked and what was the news. And I thought this was really, really potentially some important news. So I'm looking for a way to get in on this trade. So I'm looking to get short oil as close as I can to the scene of the crime. But more importantly, I'm not just selling willy-nilly. I'm looking at how the order flow is being fed into the market and how the market is reacting to that order flow. And what I was seeing here was I was seeing that there were some clips selling, and eventually they weren't getting anywhere in terms of price. Someone was absorbing here, and eventually all these quick sellers, they started to liquidate higher. There was a little attempt to hold the price lower on this little low volume node, just where I'm highlighting here on my mouse. You can see a lot of volume came in below it because people are trying to front run that little volume node. And when those guys got pushed above, then they started liquidating, and we started to move all the way back up to the scene of the crime. This gave me an opportunity to get short. I got short in this area, but what I don't want to see, I didn't want to see price moving above. That's what's been happening in oil. That's what happened in oil. Remember, I wanted an opportunity to get short given the news. I thought it could be big news. I was given the opportunity to get short, and I was patient. I didn't rush into things, and this is where I started to get short. At the same time, I want to be taking advantage of these correlations because everything started moving: bonds, equities, and commodities. And I want to be taking advantage of this in the equities market. And this could essentially be really big news. We could be seeing a slight easing in tensions between Ukraine and Russia, and more importantly, an easing of any kind of restrictions of grains, materials coming out of Ukraine is going to be very good for the inflationary picture globally. So this is why bonds could move as well. Also because it's risk on, but also because it has deeper meaning for the wider global economy. So I want to be trying to take advantage of the move. So what am I doing? I'm looking for opportunities, and I'm going to bring you my my Spook chart and explain to you what I was doing. So this is where the move happened. Look, here's the initial move. It happened at 38. This little candle here. You can see some big clips whacking or lifting above and just taking price higher. Where did price stop? It stopped in the 60 area reference.
Ukraine can now export electricity to the EU.
Okay, so this was really important. This local high was really, really important. But what was equally important was the scene of the crime. Where did we start lifting? Where did we start moving? And we probably start, the scene of the crime is where all these bubbles are, I've said. So as it starts creeping back, I'm thinking, right, I want to get long in this area. I'm looking to get long in this area, and I'm looking to add to this position, especially if I see the right kind of order flow. So as it starts moving back, I'm loading up small clips in this area here, but I'm very well aware that, if we start to go below that scene of the crime, I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to exit. So I'm looking to exit somewhere around, I think 70, 71, I think was my stop. Because I really want to see it go much further below these two candles here, the scene of the crime. Ideally, I didn't want to see it going much further below where all these big bubbles were, but that's kind of where it stopped. So that's great. I saw exactly what I wanted to see pretty much, maybe a little bit too far. But what's happening here is that we've got some big news that's hit the market. We've got these really fast traders that get involved, and then the market then is going to pause to reassess. Sometimes we get these really big moves. You get like this little period where the market is just digesting the news. Participants are getting wind of it. Some people were at the toilet. Some people were doing something else. Whatever is going on. People, not everyone was on the ball, but some people were, and they got in, and they're getting out now. And that, as they're getting out, they're giving you opportunity to get in. But you also got to be aware that potentially they're getting out for a good reason, and this doesn't have legs anymore, and no one's going to actually, in order for you to succeed in making profit out of it, someone needs to buy it after you more aggressively, and make sure that price keeps moving in the right direction. And if that's not happening, then you're in trouble. So you're looking at the order flow and seeing what's happening. And so far, everything that I wanted to see was great. So I'm going to get long around here, and what I'm looking to see aggression into these highs, to see it break above, and then to move on to yesterday's lows, and then other references. So what happened as we were going, and as volume was coming into the market, what we're also seeing a lot more people willing to offer out and hold price below this little localized high. This is not what I want to see for a news trade. At the same time, if you remember on the oil trade, I'm starting to see price move closer and closer to the scene of the crime. So even though I knew that this news was really important and I was playing it off the correlations, I was very well aware that potentially this didn't have the legs to move higher. So what I'm trying to let you know is that I took the trade based on what I'd seen in multiple markets happen at the same time. News was another factor. And also, I had this technical idea that we'd bounced off this very, very big high volume node on the weekly profile, and that this could be a great place for a reversal, a big reversal. And so in my head, I had that, those are the three things I was thinking. I was thinking, technically, this is an area that we've seen some support. We've not seen price go below those 37.65s, and we're seeing some support, and then we saw the spike high, impulse high. I'm looking for a pullback to get in. I'm in, but I want to see a continuation. I want to see order flow pushing, and price easing away from this area that I'm in. This will give me the confidence to add to the position. This will give me confidence to hold position. But what we got instead was this very stodgy offer, and eventually all these guys start to have buyer's regret. And as they're, as size is increasing at these higher levels into this localized high, you're seeing that basically they're not getting anywhere. So they're not getting rewarded for their behavior. So what's going to happen eventually? They're going to stop out. And where are you going to have your stop? You should have your stop at the scene of the crime. Really, this is something that should be, religiously noted here, guys. Okay. But what I also want to say is that because I was looking at the correlations, because I was seeing that oil wasn't moving in the right direction, because I was seeing that all the other markets weren't moving in the direction of my thesis, risk on, okay, I was looking for ways to get out before everybody else got out. And this was my clue. My clue was that this local high, 86, the auction only managed to trade one tick above that 86. Now, if this was important, that 86 level would just get wiped out. Okay, I'd be seeing offers thinning out. I'd be seeing bids being swept away. But instead, what I was seeing like a lot of volume being done in a very tight area and people getting trapped. Spotting this order flow characteristic was really important for me getting out for a profit. Because if I'd just been trading technically, I would have been holding my position. I had a good level to buy. I was long at 75s, around that area. I was long in this area, 75, 78. So I added to the position. This was a conviction trade. But it was a conviction trade with a lot of size, but I was willing to scale out of it and leave the trade alone because it just wasn't working. Because I didn't want to see this high volume and all this volume getting trapped up here. So this volume that's getting trapped, eventually it's going to liquidate. And where is it going to liquidate? The scene of the crime. Where did it get stuck? Look, this was the last stand. This area at 75. You see this little highlighted, very high volume nodes in these two little footprints. This was the last stand, and then eventually everyone just liquidated lower. So this is basically my way of trying to explain to you how I'm using order flow, correlations to get into the trade, to alert me to the trade, but I'm also using correlations, order flow to get me out of the trade before everyone else panics and gets out. Okay, had I seen the order flow going in the right direction, I would probably been adding to the position. Okay, this was a potential all-in trade, but obviously the news wasn't that important to the market. It's coming out of Russia, and everything they say is a pinch of salt. Whatever. The fact is, I don't know if this was big news. All I'm doing is I'm trading the technicals, but I'm using other tools to help me, and this hopefully will help you as well. And this is why I'm doing this. So I really hope you found this interesting. This is the way I trade. Not all the time, sometimes, but when we've got these high correlation plays, it can be really great to sort of focus on them. And let me know if you enjoyed this video. Maybe it's a bit too long. I like to waffle, I like to talk, and hopefully it works. This is the 4th time I've done this. I've literally wasted an hour and a half of my time. Well, not wasted, hopefully, because eventually I get it out, but I have done this a few times. But thank you very much for watching, and thank you all for following. Thank you all for all your support. It keeps me motivated to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm forever grateful. Thanks, guys, and hopefully you're learning something from it as well. Take care. Bye-bye.